Charles, it feels like summer in New York City today. It's like 80.
Are you responsible for this global warming?
I had nothing to do with it.
You know what it is? It's a direct consequence of Joe Biden and Jake Sullivan and Anthony Stinkin Blinken blowing up the Nord Stream 2 pipeline. That's immediately created this global warming.
Made it 80.
Should send them a bill.
Well, President Trump agreed that those guys blew it up. We'll talk about all of that. We're going to be in the First Amendment Forum later today. People are going to be able to join us on all of the wonderful sponsor-exclusive platforms. Here's yet another weed store, Charles.
Right.
So New York City has become your one-stop shop for all things weed. I just want to alert our viewers that it is super important for people to become sponsors. Odyssey.com/@crowdsourcethetruth is a great platform for people to join on, because earlier today, the malicious and possibly mentally ill Stupid Mario Brothers, they struck out at the Sunday with Charles YouTube channel, and it is under strike right now. It can't broadcast, so people can watch us on Crowdsource the Truth 8, Crowdsource the Truth 9, Odyssey.com/@crowdsourcethetruth, crowdsourcethetruth.substack.com, subscribestar.com/crowdsourcethetruth, patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth. And Charles, I really want our viewers to be aware that you have started your Substack.
Thank you.
And people can go there and become subscribers. You can either for free or a paid subscription at charlesortel.substack.com. It's live right now.
Well, thank you very much for that, Jason. And thanks also to the great Thomas Lifson over at American Thinker, who wrote a very nice blog posting on American Thinker on Monday. And that site, you know, in Substack they tell you who is, what's the source of the subscription. And that site is just so fertile. I mean, many of his loyal followers have been subscribing, both free and paid, and I really appreciate it. And your support as well.
That's wonderful. So Charles, today, I don't know if you have seen this, but there's a new Delaware Joe movie coming.
And I have not seen the movie, but I did see the poster.
Yeah,
and I won't
Dial
see the movie.
of Stupidity. The premise of this movie is he's looking for a Nazi artifact, I think, that allows him to travel through time, obviously based on the forthcoming Indiana Jones movie, where who is older, Indiana Jones or dumb Joe Biden?
Well, I think, it's interesting. I was in the library this morning doing some work, writing, and I saw this pierced, tattooed young girl, working down the table from me with a T-shirt on, the famous T-shirt saying "Virginia is for lovers," and that immediately caused me to think that we need to do a T-shirt for Joe. Delaware is for dunces, or Delaware is for douchebags, or I don't know what.
Yeah.
Demented douchebags, but I mean, this guy, when we, it's easy to focus on the little stuff, because that's what, your mind absorbs first, most people. But the big overarching thing to focus on here is we have a president who, and we'll talk about this in more depth, who arrested, who connived with, it's now, Matt Rantingly has the story, who connived with the FBI to issue a special assistance request that triggered the FBI raid on Mar-a-Lago to deflect from the fact that he, Biden, and his team had knowingly spread all kinds of classified information everywhere. So he instigates the raid on Mar-a-Lago. Then it seems that a lot of people connected to Obama and Biden have been instigating this assault in New York against Donald Trump. And there's a lot of news about that. And
I didn't see that.
Yeah.
But obviously Alvin Bragg has brought this suit against Jim Jordan to prevent...
but Bragg worked for Tish James in the lawsuit against the Trump Foundation.
Oh, right.
And so on the one hand, we have the aggressive use of government resources in the U.S. to target political opponents, including the person who did, in fact, get, as a sitting president, the most votes of any sitting president, and who now is approximately in one poll 9 points ahead of Biden. even though Trump is not the anointed candidate yet to run in the general, even though Biden hasn't announced. So here you have the sitting president.
Is that the Dalai Lama?
He looks like him.
He's sucking tongues.
Disgusting. And little boy tongues. So here you have a gross abuse of the law, frankly, by a lawyer, supposedly Joe Biden, by a president. And at the same time, he decides to go over to Northern Ireland to celebrate this accord, which is not really holding up.
Do you think they're pissed off at him for insulting them like 3 weeks ago?
Well, that's Southern Ireland he was insulting, not Northern Ireland. He was saying, with regards to the Southern Irish Taoiseach who came to St. Paddy's Day at the White House, he said, you know, while I'm Irish, I'm not a drunk, and none of my family is in jail.
I mean, it's like the worst thing you could possibly say.
Yeah.
It's like going over to a Passover Seder and you've never met any Jewish people and being like, you know, y'all noses ain't that big.
Or what? I can think of worse things.
Or worse, or whatever.
Yeah. And so that would be, you know, akin to what Biden did say. So he's over there, and he has the nerve to take his sister, Valerie Biden Owens, and Hunter on this government-financed jet.
Why?
Well, it's just outrageous. It sends a clear message to the uninitiated that if you want to be, you know, an idiot, be a Republican.
It's very
and play
lucrative.
by the rules. You know, if you want to just seize as much wealth as you can get away with, join the Demon Rat Party and emulate Joe Biden and his crooked gang, and you'll see what happens.
But wait, we forgot something important, Charles.
What's that?
Well, because we wanted to come to Times Square today because I didn't know about this until it was on the news, but yesterday over at that little police hut, the dumbest man in New York City, Eric Adams, he introduced the new plan to have RoboCop.
Yeah,
He's got the Robo-Dog and a...
I think you have to qualify that. Eric Adams is the dumbest man in New York City if Joe Biden isn't visiting.
As long as he's not here, right. But they now have robot dogs and some kind of giant, looks like a butt plug, moving around in, I think, the subway. To do what? I don't know. I think what we need are cops that know how to enforce the law, not robots. They love spending money.
Right, and we've seen, Jesus Christ, we saw, there was a report out that a substantial majority of New York City residents will not ride the subway at night because they're sensible, and 25% don't want to ride it during the day.
I'm right smack there in the 25%. I'll ride it if I need to. We rode it somewhere not long ago, but I don't really like riding on the subway anymore.
Well, it's much faster if you're in Manhattan. It's much faster.
It's the fastest way to the hospital.
No, it's much faster. It's particularly, to get from here down to Wall Street, it's way faster.
It's always been faster, but it's just become too dangerous.
And it's not bad. Certain lines are not bad, but certain lines you're taking your life in your hands. You take the local out to, you know, certain sections of Brooklyn, Queens, the Bronx.
There's the naked
Oy.
grandmother.
Yes. Jill Biden trying to fit in.
That woman would be a better president than Joe Biden, Charles.
Yeah.
Could you imagine every press conference she's wearing that outfit?
I mean, I think, just as I don't give you shit, but what is that?
What?
That.
Oh, isn't it King Kong falling off the thing? Let's look at it.
So just as I joke with you and say that at a certain age, and I would argue that age is, I won't get you in trouble and say that age is 50, but at a certain age, men shouldn't wear shorts, you know. And whoa, well, I guess he's just.
I think it's a dinosaur costume. Yeah, somebody got tired of wearing the dinosaur costume.
But you know, at a certain age, men and women should not be dressing the way they dressed when they were 16, 18, and 22. You're not 16, 18, or 22 when you're 65, and no amount of plastic surgery or wishful thinking is going to turn you into a 16, 18, or 22-year-old, and so you got to dress with a little bit more dignity, I would argue, which is why I wear a jacket.
But it's 80.
I mean, well, you do what you want. I'm just saying, but you're not walking around in like
Dude, back up.
banana boat underwear.
We just got accosted by
I know.
Mickey Mouse.
I know.
That's an aggressive Mickey Mouse.
That's right.
So, Charles, we've only got a few minutes more here, and then we're going to make our transition over to the sponsor-exclusive segment in the First Amendment Forum. Oh, here's your Porsche Taycan.
My what?
Why'd you let this guy drive it?
I don't know.
But people
No
can watch
license
that.
plate on the front.
Right, and he's about to hit us.
You gotta.
But people can watch it on subscribestar.com/crowdsourcethetruth, patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth, odyssey.com/@crowdsourcethetruth, and crowdsourcethetruth.substack.com.
So I know why you sent us this way, Jason. I mean, you need to really come clean, and if you just admit some of your failings, you'll get through them.
That's new.
You wanted to check out the Krispy Kreme. You wanted to make a big reserve over here for like a couple dozen donuts, I'll
tell you what, Krispy Kreme donuts are delicious.
in the winter, not in the summer.
And if you get in a mood, eat 3 or 4 of them, you can do that. You'll feel terrible. One of the guys who worked for 21st Century 3D when it first opened, he went there after work and bought a box and then walked home. And he
barfed,
ate all the donuts on the walk home. Yeah,
Ugh.
And then threw up and was sick for several days, like couldn't come to work. It's pretty
we ought to
ridiculous.
have like anti-advertisements for products. That would be a good one.
Well, that was like a Krispy Kreme fever.
Yeah.
Don't eat a dozen.
Well, you
in a
shouldn't
row.
eat a dozen of anything, most likely,
No.
let alone donuts. Maybe a dozen.
Maybe French fries,
Maybe.
potato chips.
Let's wait.
So, well, Charles, this is something I wanted to ask you, because a lot of people are saying, oh, Anheuser-Busch lost $4 billion from advertising with Dylan Mulvaney. And I don't think that's correct. The stock went down, but when I expanded it out to like a year, it's actually up from where it was a year ago. So obviously, it doesn't seem like this advertising campaign was a very good idea, but I don't think it's quite fair to say that it lost them $4 billion. That doesn't seem accurate.
Anheuser-Busch was one of Dylan Reed's most important clients. Indeed, it was the first account that I was put on when I got there in 1980.
Huh.
And part of the reason was that one of our senior partners was a Bush, and he was a great man. His name was Peter Flanagan. His grandfather, I think, was a Bush. I may have that wrong. And back in the 80s and the 90s, early 90s, Anheuser-Busch, I want to say, had a market share approaching 50%.
Yeah. Because you didn't really have all those
Guy has a sign saying it's
breweries,
this.
right?
The other guy has a sign saying it's this or OnlyFans. Trust me.
What are you
On
talking
OnlyFans, the guy right there, it's this or OnlyFans. And trust me, that'd be the only OnlyFans where people would pay him to put more clothes on. You know?
Yeah, it certainly smells like a donut right over here.
Yeah. So anyway, no, what you learn in the beer business and the liquor business in the United States is that it's very difficult to get distribution. Very difficult.
Because Anheuser-Busch controls it all?
Not Anheuser. I mean, now it's Miller and other people. But so to get your beer, there are ancient laws dealing with distribution. So to get your beer, to get a beer distributor to agree to take your product and take, there's only a certain amount of shelf space that you have in a place where you're selling it.
Right.
So you got to make a decision, if it's a new beer, take some old beer off the shelf.
Right.
And if the old beer is well established and there's good history and the guy's making money and the woman's making money selling it,
They don't want to get rid of it.
right? So I had a friend at Dylan Reed whose family owned the largest brewery in Germany, which is actually called Holstein, and they ultimately sold it. But it was his job in his late 20s to go, into the United States after he left Dylan Reed and penetrate the U.S. beer market. And the argument that we're the largest brewery in Germany, so you should give us some space, fell flat on its face.
Didn't go far.
And they sold the company.
Isn't that a type of cow, Holstein?
Holstein, yeah. It is. But anyway, so at its peak in the 80s, 90s, man, what an idiot. They should ban that shit. They should say, you do that.
That is not allowed.
If you do that, we're taking your truck.
Now hang on just a second, Charles, because that was a motorcycle, but we've got to switch over
Okay.
to the First Amendment Forum. But I did not realize they had a TV show about Waco.
Let's wait right here.
Sure.
So I have something I want to tell you.
Okay, absolutely. We'll be back in just a moment. People are going to be able to join us on odyssey.com/@crowdsourcethetruth. Oh, and by the way, the video that got struck on the Sunday with Charles YouTube channel by the malicious, fart-sniffing loser in his RV, that was the one where, what was the one? I put it on Odyssey so that people can watch it. It was
Dinosaurs and something.
Dinosaurs and Cadillacs. So now it's available for free on odyssey.com/crowdsourcethetruth. While you're there, you can become a member for as little as $3. Odyssey has made a special arrangement with Crowdsource the Truth. We're beta testing this new discount membership, so please take advantage of that offer. You've got live chat on Odyssey. You've got DVR functionality. You can rewind the live stream. People are loving it, so if you're on Patreon, make the jump. Join us on odyssey.com/@crowdsourcethetruth. And thanks to everybody who's on crowdsourcethetruth.substack.com and subscribestar.com/crowdsourcethetruth. Don't forget to check out charlesortel.substack.com. Not a lot of clothing going on right there.
Exactly. Young girl, too.
We'll be back in 5 minutes. Thanks.